everybody. My name is Thế An. I am from class Oxford Discover 4 from CG-D4-2201. And today, I'm going to tell you how I made my book about the history of the World Wide Web. As you all know, the World Wide Web is a search engine all around the world. People mostly use it today in their studies or they need to find information. But how exactly was it made? And how did I even make this book? Well, let's dive into it. First, when you make a book, you need to design the cover. The cover has to be about something. Like for the World Wide Web, I draw a globe which is simulated like a web. A spider web, that's very common and usual, right?
Yes.
Next, when you write a book, you need to tell people what's in the book. As for here, this is chapter 1, the man who invented the World Wide Web. And the second chapter is the late 1980s, when was the World Wide Web invented. And chapter 3, the life nowadays. And you can add in some extra details too. This is the man who invented the internet, and his name is called Tim Berners-Lee. Tim was a businessman at the age of very young. He was very young when he invented the internet. Although his calls weren't successful at first, they were very successful back then. Next, when you design a book, you need to add some details. What would be a book without some speech bubbles? Or at least a few pictures, right?
Yes.
What if a book had nothing inside of it? Then it wouldn't be called a book. It would just be a bunch of pieces of papers slapped together with some staples. Next, if you see here, then this is literally a PC calling a phone. This simulates how people communicated back when the internet was invented. There was a lot of ways for people to communicate faster than just dialing a number and then having to write letters, etc. You can also read news from all over the world as well, or just give other people your information about you and your life around you.
Okay.
So this is basically Mr. Tim when he was a teenager. This is his group, and he is trying to invent the World Wide Web. As you already know, the invention wasn't successful at first, but Tim kept trying until one day he succeeded in his invention, and he invented the World Wide Web, or for this, the web, for short.
Okay.
Nowadays, people can communicate really fast, especially if they have 5G or 4G, because those mobile internets have got a really big impact on our life. You need to make a call on the internet? Easy. Use 4G. You want to make a call on your cell number? Easy. You can use just that also. The possibilities when the internet was invented was endless. From searching songs like Rickroll or maybe just playing other games to relax, you can do anything with internet. When Steve Jobs invented the iPhone in 2007, the internet decided the man Tim Berners-Lee asked the creator of Apple if he can input internet on the iPhone. Steve Jobs said yes, and from that day on, Apple got its name, and it has more than 500 today.
Wow.
Other companies also collaborated with each other. For example, as you see here, Google and Apple. It's really weird, but trust me, Google and Apple have been best friends because most companies allow other companies to run software on their devices. And you see, Apple devices can use Google. Microsoft devices can use Google. And also, Google devices can use Microsoft. Who could think of that?
Your Apple logo look like a person. Sorry. Continue.
Next, now people use the internet every day. As you can see, many other companies also collaborated with each other, like Google and Apple. You can find Google apps on Apple Store right now. If you see, there are over 500,000 apps on the App Store on the Apple Store. There are millions of apps on Google Play. And if you can download Microsoft apps on Google Play, then why not download Apple apps too? Those possibilities are endless. But there's one thing you can't do. Import a save file of your data from another device onto another. Although it might seem very easy to do, it cannot be done because it is not possible if there are two different hardwares. However, today, many people just use one type of phone, the smartphone. The smartphone is used by more than half of the world. If you see here, this is the percentage of people who use phones, and this is the percentage of people who don't use phones. We use phones to communicate with each other really easily. The phone is an important essential in our everyday life, and we can't just go a day without them. I mean, at least I can go a few days without them, but when I really need it, I can't go a single day without it. Like I need to finish an urgent project or like that. People also use smartphones a lot more, and for me, I think a little bit too much isn't bad. A little bit too much is really bad, but a little bit very normal, like you just use 5 extra minutes every day, that's okay. But if you use too much of it, you might get so addicted that you can't even leave your face from it. When you finish a book, you need to write who publishes and who wrote it. For example, I wrote it. This book I wrote in 3 weeks. The first week, I wrote all the words and left some gaps behind so that I could use a printing press to print words. If you see these words in blue, it means I printed it. But if you see the words in gray, that means I wrote it. On the second week, I drew the pictures. On the third week, and finally, I printed all the letters, let it dry, and then make it so that it would look like a real fictional book. Except this is not fictional, it's non-fiction about the internet, right? But, so that's all for today. Does any of you guys have any questions?
Yes. Thế An, do you think it was easier or harder to make the book than you thought?
It was pretty normal because the only hard part is the spacing between the printed letters. Like you just have to perfectly think and examine how many words or letters do you need to fit in a gap. Like I almost ran out of space.
Was it challenging?
It wasn't challenging, but it was kind of hard to do it though.
Okay, but did you like to do this project?
I loved it, especially when I got to design the cover. And draw the pictures.
Okay. Guys, have you got questions? No? Okay, so let's end your presentation.
Thank you and goodbye.